Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 28th, the year is 2022. I'm sitting outside again on the deck. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. Grayson is around here eating breakfast somewhere. Here he is, walking around, eating breakfast, sticking out the place. Still ain't got groomed yet. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a friend of mine. Back in the early 90s, a guy named Quentin. I met a guy named Quentin. Quentin lived here in Atlanta. He worked for Emory. Well, he worked for, I believe it was Crawford Long Hospital on Crawford Long Hospital. What street is that? Is that Piedmont? No, it's not Piedmont. Wherever it was in downtown Atlanta, there's a hospital down there off Peachtree Road, right off Peachtree. I think it was Crawford Long. Those of you who remember what the hospital is on Peachtree Road, right off West Peachtree and Peachtree Road. What is that hospital? It's Emory now, but it used to be called, if I'm correct, it was Crawford Long. I met Quentin the very first time he had ever went to a gay nightclub. We met. I was in there by myself, and he walked in the door, and we just hit it off very well. We started talking, sort of dating. I was living by myself at the time. We were getting to know each other. Quentin worked at the hospital and lived right there on Peachtree Street, right across the street from Crawford Long Hospital. There was a high-rise there where he worked at. He was a medical tech. So he lived over there and he worked at the hospital. The hospital offered some type of housing that was very affordable, and he was in this program where he was staying there. He lived there, renting from the hospital, and he worked as a medical tech right across the street. Me and Quentin, we hung out for a little while. We got to know each other. Was really getting to know each other. I really liked Quentin. I thought he really liked me. And I was like 23 young. We were about 22, 23 years of age. One day Quentin came to me and said, well, Walter, just to be honest with you, you're not really my type. You know, I'm really into guys who are more thuggish, gold teeth, gold chains. And I remember him telling me stuff that he was really into these guys that more street savvy. He said, that's just, I really, I like you, but just not, I really just be friends. So I said, okay, fine. We weren't in that deep into the situation. Of course, I was kind of hurt by this, but I moved on because this wasn't the first person that I would date type. And, black folks seem to like this thuggish mentality. I wasn't no thug, I was wearing glasses and, educated, sort of educated. I wasn't in college or nothing, but I wasn't in no streets. I wasn't smoking weed. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't hanging out. I was hustling like I've always done. So I began to see Quentin hang with these different types of guys that he liked. Gold teeth, gold chains, just street niggas. He just liked street niggas for some reason. Quentin went from this handsome, attractive guy with this great paying job. He was making good money at the hospital. He worked at a Lee Haney's gym, had a nice body. He was a handsome guy. He really went from an employed man with a good income, a nice home right on Peachtree Street and right in Midtown, right across from the hospital. He started dealing with these damn guys who got him on drugs. He would be high and drunk in the club. I would see him, and I'm like, damn, this man really didn't change. In the course of a year or two, now remember, I met him when he just came out, but in the course of a year or two, he hit rock bottom, my y'all. I mean, I would see him, and I would say, damn, this nigga's really bad off now. Wow. But I never could figure out, so why did he choose that path? And I see him, he always come and give me, hey, Walter, good to see you. He'd be drunk, he was stinking, he would be high. I was like, wow, this nigga really went down. So flash forward a few years later, I'm renovating houses now. So maybe about 4 or 5 years later, that was like 98, had to be 1998, 1999. I was renovating houses in Eastlake. And so I had met him in 1992, 1993. And so anyway, I was renovating houses in Eastlake. And one day, we had all this trash at this in the house. I'll never forget it. It was a whole bunch of trash piled up sky high, and the dumpster was gone. I was trying to get the dumpster back, and at that point, everybody and their mom was renovating houses in Atlanta. So they said it would be a week before we get your dumpster over there, and all this trash over there. I'm like, damn, we got to get rid of this trash. So I remember circling the block, and I saw a trash guy, and I said, hey, I give y'all some extra money. Trash guy was picking up a trash can. I said, if y'all bring this truck over here, I'll give y'all some extra money and to pick the trash up at this house I'm renovating. They said, oh man, yeah. So I was in my Mercedes at that time. So I rolled around the corner. I said, I'm over here on this address. He said, come over here next. He said, okay, we'll be there in a few minutes. So when the garbage truck rolled around the corner to the alley on the side of the house that we were renovating, off the back of the truck jumps Quentin. Quentin jumped off the back of that truck, and I looked. I said, he looked at me, and I was getting out the Mercedes at the time, and I walked up and I said, Quentin? And he was like, Walter, oh my gosh. He's like, hey man, what's going on? And he looked horrible. He looked horrible. And I remember standing there thinking, wow, this boy has really hit rock bottom. He went from being a medical tech at the hospital, I don't know what he was making, but he was making good money, driving a nice car, living in a nice high rise, to now he had lost that job, lost his apartment. He had been homeless for a while. He was now working for the city of Atlanta garbage pickup. He lost his certification because he was doing drugs, possibly stole drugs from his job. I don't know. It was so much shit this man. I mean, as we were acquainting ourselves, having these conversations, we exchanged phone numbers, and he would call me every day. Man, I miss you. Man, you doing so great and everything. Man, I'll be like, yeah, you will be fine. You just gotta, get together. Man, it's just everything's just so fucked up over here. I lost my certification. I'm a garbage man now. I said, it's not the end of the world. I mean, you got some ways to go to get your act together. I said, you got to clean your act up. You can go back and get the certification. You say, man, I don't think they're going to let me get it back and blah, blah, blah. I remember us having these conversations. This was back in 98, 99, somewhere up in there. Well, anyway, we and him stayed in touch for a few years. A little while after that, when Facebook got started, I'll never forget this. My family members and friends kept telling me, everybody's on Facebook. Walter, you're not on Facebook. And I was so against Facebook and social media. I was like, I don't want to get that mess. So finally, one of my cousins called me and said, Walter, everybody's on Facebook and we're sharing photos and stuff. You really need to be on here. And so I said, okay, well, let me go. This is when Facebook was just starting to explode. I wasn't even on that other one before Facebook. I can't even think of the name of it. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. But anyway, I logged into Facebook and created my account. One of the first persons to hit me up was Quentin. I never forget, when I logged back in there, he sent me a message, and a friend request. I was like, oh, this is Quentin. I haven't seen him in a minute. Well, we had kind of lost touch as I was renovating the houses, and he left from being a garbage truck driver. He started doing tow trucks. He was working for a tow truck company. He was trying to get better. But anyway, what caught my eye was that he sent me some messages. He said, hey, Walter, I've been really sick. I was at Grady Hospital. I got a lot of stuff going on. Give me a call. And then, so I called him. He had surgery to remove his colon. He had anal cancer, and they removed part of his colon or lower intestines, and he had to be put on a colostomy bag. And he had surgery. He had been in the hospital for weeks trying to recover from that surgery. He almost died. He had some tumor or cancer or something. Cancerous. They had to remove it. I think back then, to be honest with you all, because so many people had that surgery back then, it was just ridiculous. I just think that these hospitals just kind of, these guys were black, they were gay, they were, suffering from HIV. And he admitted to me that he was HIV positive. And I just think these guys just butchered these guys in these hospitals. So anyway, he had to have this colostomy bag and part of his colon or lower intestines removed. And he just didn't like it. He didn't like it. He was very unhappy. He was at home. And we just started having conversations about what happened. He was starting to go more in depth and more detail about, after he and I first met at the gay club, he realized that the worst mistake he ever made was dissing me. I said, well, you wanted to pursue, you had to find out that there was something, you thought there was something better out there. He met a bunch of niggas who cheated on him, lied on him, lost job. He drugs, just all kinds of bullshit. I said, you said you were interested in these guys. And he's like, man, none of them guys were no good. But then he started to tell me another story. He had got to a point where he had to move in with his mother. Now, he didn't ever grow up with his mother. He grew up with his grandmother. I remember him telling me his grandmother had raised him. He really didn't know his mom. His mom was a drug addict and all this other stuff had happened in her life. But he had hit rock bottom, which is probably why he ended up on drugs, because he probably inherited this trait from his mother and father. Both were drug addicts, and he ended up being raised by his grandmother. He ended up moving in with his grandmother, his mother, not his grandmother. He moved in with her. While he was living with his mother was dating some guy that had just got out of prison. His mother was dating a guy that just got out of prison, and his mother was having a relationship. One thing led to another, and I guess one day he started having a sexual relationship with his mother's boyfriend who had just got out of prison. And this is how he believes he contracted HIV, was from his mother's boyfriend. Because the guy who had served time in prison infected his mother and him with HIV. He found his mother was positive, and he went and checked and found out he was positive. And then this began the whole spiral down that he got sick. He ended up with colon cancer or a tumor or something. And long story short, the surgery that they performed when they put him on a colostomy bag, it didn't do well. Maybe because he didn't want it to do well, because he said he didn't want to live with that colostomy bag. He said he hated it. But anyway, he ended up dying. Now this was in when did Facebook get started? 2010, 2009, 2008, 2009, 2010. Whenever I went on Facebook, it was that maybe 2008, 2009, somewhere from there. But he ended up not too long after we started communicating, maybe about a year later or less, he actually died. And I saw on his Facebook page, people were saying condolences. So I said, wow, he died. And I thought about all of this stuff. You know, these memories come back because you remember this stuff. You know, the crazy part is I have pictures of me and Quentin in some of these photo albums. I need to dig up out this basement. So I put everything in the basement and make sure put these photographs up here so they don't get... But Quentin was a very handsome guy, very attractive guy. But he loved them streets for some reason. He loved the streets, he loved them niggas, that weed and drugs, that thug lifestyle, even though he wasn't really one. But he was attracted to that mess. And this was the path he chose, and it didn't work out too well for Quentin. Quentin didn't, but I've seen this repeatedly. This is the reason why I'm bringing this up. I've seen these people pursue these niggas who ain't about shit. And I think about somebody like Rihanna, who's dating this rapper who's charged with all this crazy shit. It's like they choose, black folks, we really don't know what's best for us. And we choose these horrible people. This street thug mentality that it never ends well for people who go down this path. I've seen so many of my friends dating these guys that ain't about shit. But they're doctors and lawyers, but they dating niggas who ain't about nothing. Who ain't going nowhere. I had another friend who was a doctor who lost every damn thing pursuing some niggas that wasn't about nothing. And he lost everything. He's not even a doctor anymore. This is some time ago. I believe that nigga dead by now. People make ignorant decisions. But anyway, I'm still here alive and well, HIV negative, and sipping on coffee on the front porch, enjoying a beautiful day over here in the backyard of my house. I don't like street niggas. Now I would meet them niggas that was smoking weed and gold teeth and all that shit and gold chains and hanging out in the street. I said, okay, you ain't my type. I've never cared for that street mentality, ignorant nigga shit. All that tattoos and all that shit. I don't have no tattoos. I've kind of wanted to get a tattoo or two. But I ain't had to. I said, I'll save my money for so I'd rather go buy me a rug for my floor. But anyway, I thought about this story. I think I've told the story before. About my friend who contracted HIV from his mother's boyfriend. And his mother, crazy part is Quentin's mother died from AIDS. It's not too soon after that, not too long after she died. He died maybe a couple of years later. I don't know what became of the boyfriend. How you gonna have sex with your mother's boyfriend? But he said, I remember he said, oh, the dick was so good and blah, 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 blah. I was thinking, this is your mother's boyfriend. I was like, but they never had a close relationship like that. They didn't have a mother-son relationship. It was just, she was just his mother. She brought him into this world. But it's so funny that they both end up dying, contracting HIV from the same nigga and dying from him. That was just bizarre to me. But anyway, I just thought that was a story I wanted to share. There was a lot more to that whole story. That nigga Quentin was something else. But he was when I first met him, he was intelligent. I remember him sitting there studying at my home, and we sitting there laughing, sitting out by the pool. Just all this great stuff happening, and just out of the blue one day, he said, you're not really my type. And then not soon after that, he said this literally, I'll never forget this because he said this, and the next day he took all his stuff and left my home. I'm thinking, wow, so this is it. We were not in no relationship any that way. We spent the past few months over the summer getting to know each other. The spring, when I met him in March, I met him in the spring of, I remember it now, 1993, right before I bought that house, because I bought the house and moved into it. I was buying the house when I met him, and I moved into that house. He was at work. I remember all these details now. I remember this. So, anyway, sometimes you remember these people that you meet and go through life, and you just look at the destiny they path. Yeah, I've lived in Atlanta for 30 years. I've seen so much shit here in this damn town. And one of the things that triggered this was this couple, that girl who was did that video about, and she's pursuing this nigga that didn't move. I saw a picture of her husband, the homeless girl from that I did a video about a day or so. I saw a picture of her husband. I remember thinking, wow, this is the nigga that she moved down here with, pursuing? Wow. I don't know if you go to her GoFundMe page, there's a picture of her and the kids and her husband. And I was thinking, okay, this is who you were pursuing. This is who you moved down here with. And y'all living in hotels and homeless, you pursuing this fool. And I just looked at a picture, y'all. It's just a picture. But a picture can tell you a lot about a person. And it goes back to me watching Quentin in those clubs with the niggas that he was chasing after. The niggas that was beating on his ass, disrespecting him, lying and cheating on him, disappearing on his ass, wrecked his damn car. I remember all this stuff. Some nigga he was dating, fucking around with, stole his car and wrecked it. He ended up losing that job over there. All this over some damn niggas. And all the time he kept saying, I should just stay with you. No, you made the decision you wanted to be with somebody else. And you were with them other folks and you saw how it ended, not well. But I always just, I've always been called the lame. Well, he Walt's is lame because I ain't about, I don't smoke weed. I don't get drunk over here. I'll sip on a vodka and cranberry, but I don't get drunk. I don't do anything. I've never did cocaine or methamphetamine or crack or any of this shit that I know everybody else do in the gay community. I don't do any of this mess. Quentin ended up getting on drugs, doing crack, cocaine, all this fucking shit. What an idiot. That's the path he chose to go down. That's the path he chose. I don't know. Who is this? This boy's a fucking pest. I need to block his ass. Well, today it is Wednesday. It is September 28th. I hope I got it right. It's Wednesday, September 28th. The year 2022 is a beautiful fall day. I'm sitting outside having a cup of coffee, about to make some breakfast. I'm waiting for Home Depot to get over here and finish some of the shit they're supposed to be doing over here. I'm so sick of their ass. So don't hire Home Depot to do nothing in your house if you know like I know. Don't waste your time. But anyway, today is Wednesday, September 28th. The year is 2022. I'm out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your beautiful fall day.